right now?
Absolutely. There was so much speculation and, outright lies started. I wasn't aware of just how bad some of this stuff would get, so that's a purpose now, and it feels good. I feel like I'm a strong curator for his last 9 months.
At 68, Ginger Alden is finally speaking up. And what she reveals about Elvis Presley is nothing like the fairy tale fans imagined. For decades, she kept quiet about their final days together. But now, the silence is over. Her truth is raw, real, and emotional. Get ready, because what she says will truly leave you speechless. The truth about Ginger and Presley. For many years, the final days of Elvis Presley's life stayed mostly hidden, known only to a small circle of people. One of those few was Ginger Alden, his fiancée and the woman he loved until the very end. She was by his side in his last hours, witnessing the real man behind the superstar image. In just a matter of weeks, Ginger went from being a visitor at Graceland to becoming the woman Elvis intended to marry. But it wasn't until many years later that she chose to speak out. When she finally opened up, she didn't just talk about their relationship, she revealed surprising and little-known truths about Elvis and those closest to him. Ginger Alden Lizer, known as both an actress and a model, showed signs of being a star from an early age. She was drawn to beauty contests and quickly found herself involved in the fashion and entertainment world. Her connection to Elvis Presley, however, came in a way no one saw coming.
And Ginger accompanied her sister to what they thought would be a one-time visit. Simply stepping inside Elvis's home was surreal.
Their meeting when she was 5. Ginger first saw Elvis when she was just 5 years old. But the true story between them didn't start until much later, when she was 20 and Elvis was 41. At that time, their paths crossed again under the most unexpected circumstances. For decades, the public has been fascinated by Elvis Presley's love life. Most people immediately think of his former wife, Priscilla Presley, but there was another woman who was with him during his final days, Ginger Alden. Their time together may have been short, but it was powerful. And it all started with an innocent trip to Graceland, their meeting at Graceland. Ginger never set out to meet Elvis that day. She didn't even receive a direct invitation. It was her sister, Terry Alden, who had caught the attention of someone in Elvis's circle. Terry was invited to visit Elvis at Graceland, and though flattered, she didn't feel comfortable going alone. So she asked Ginger to come along. Ginger agreed, not knowing that her life was about to undergo a complete change that would make history. When she entered the room and saw Elvis walk in, she sensed a shift in the air. She later explained that it almost felt magical, like something out of a dream. "It might sound strange," she once said, "but when he walked in, I honestly expected to hear trumpets. He looked amazing." The way he carried himself left a lasting impression. It wasn't just his fame or status that caught her attention, it was the feeling he gave her. There was a softness in the way he looked at people, especially her. Ginger could sense it immediately. Something in her heart told her this wasn't just any other meeting. Elvis, on his part, also noticed Ginger. Though he was often surrounded by admirers and friends, Ginger stood out. Maybe it was her calm nature, or the fact that she wasn't trying to impress him. Maybe it was just meant to happen that way. But whatever it was, something between them clicked. That first meeting led to a spark. Elvis had been a famous entertainer for over 20 years, yet here he was, falling for someone who had no agenda, no expectations. Ginger was just there for her sister, with no idea that she was walking straight into the heart of a love story. After that, things moved quickly. Elvis started inviting Ginger back to Graceland. They spent more time together, talking late into the night, laughing and connecting on a deep level. Despite their age difference, 21 years, it didn't seem to bother either of them. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Just 2 months into the relationship, Elvis asked Ginger to marry him. It was fast, but their connection felt real. She said yes. It's important to note this came shortly after his split from Linda Thompson. Ginger wasn't just another woman in Elvis's life. She became his fiancée, the woman he planned to spend his future with. He proposed using a diamond ring that he had removed from his famous taking care of business necklace. It was personal, thoughtful, and full of meaning. They were set to marry on Christmas Day in 1977. But sadly, their plans never came to life. Their romance, though brief, left a lasting mark. Ginger had become much more than just a visitor. She became the final woman Elvis ever loved. The invitation for her sister from Presley.
Right. Yes, my sister was Miss Tennessee in 1976. And we received a phone call at our home one evening from a good friend of Elvis's.
What's remarkable is how this all began. A simple invitation. A sister not wanting to go alone. Ginger tagging along without any clue of what the day would bring. And yet, that day changed her life forever. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest moments come from the smallest steps. The day she walked into Graceland, she had no idea she'd be meeting the king of rock and roll in such a personal way. She didn't know that within months, she'd be wearing his ring and planning a wedding. She simply went to support her sister. But love has a way of surprising us. Ginger didn't go looking for Elvis, but he found her. And what started as an ordinary day turned into something unforgettable. Ginger never chased after fame or fortune through Elvis. She didn't expect anything from him. She was just there at the right place at the right time. That's what makes her revelation so touching. It wasn't planned, it just happened, and she was able to take her place in his life. Ginger's place in Elvis Presley's life. She talks about how Presley expressed his emotions to her.
Well, that first night he said, "Ginger, you're burning a hole through me after a while." And I thought it's because I'm staring at him, I guess. But yeah, I was invited back the next evening.
For years, people wondered about Ginger Alden's place in Elvis Presley's story. Some doubted her, pointing out how young she had been, only 20, when she got engaged to the king of rock and roll. Others said she was simply holding on to her brief moment in the spotlight. After Elvis's passing, she remained mostly quiet, and her silence led many to believe she was hiding something. But Ginger had her own reasons for staying out of the public eye. She later explained, "I wanted to clear up the confusion." She wasn't trying to rewrite history. She just wanted to tell the truth about Elvis Presley when the cameras weren't watching, when the fans were gone, and when the reality behind the Graceland gates was not as magical as people imagined. She also wanted people to understand what life became for her after losing him. To the world, Elvis was smooth, full of charm, and larger than life. He was a performer who changed the music world forever. But Ginger's memories showed something different, a version of Elvis very few people ever saw. And for some, what she shared was hard to accept. One of the most difficult things Ginger ever spoke about was an incident where Elvis hit her. It was not something she brought up lightly, and she never mentioned it to tear down his legacy. She believed the truth mattered, even when it was painful. That one moment, in her view, was part of a bigger struggle Elvis was facing. His final months were filled with stress, emotional ups and downs, and signs that he was not doing well. She also described how Elvis would sometimes fire arms inside the house, not for safety, not to scare anyone, but in random moments of anger or frustration. It painted a picture of a man who no longer had full control over his actions. This was not the Elvis fans remembered on stage. This was someone different, a man slowly falling apart inside the comfort of his own home. And sometimes the smallest things could trigger that anger. Ginger shared one moment that stayed with her. They were having a simple chat when she mentioned calories in passing, something about ice cream. That one word upset Elvis so much that he threw an entire bowl of ice cream across the room. It wasn't because he didn't care about her. It wasn't hate. It was confusion, pressure, and a deep sensitivity that he didn't always know how to manage. She also opened up about another side of him, one that was quieter but just as difficult. Elvis could be emotionally distant. He wouldn't always shout or argue. Sometimes he would just shut people out. It was like he had built invisible walls around himself, and not even Ginger could always reach past them. But Ginger never claimed to be perfect either. She never blamed him. She wasn't trying to make herself look better. She spoke with calm and honesty. Her stories didn't come from bitterness, but from love and pain mixed together. He was complicated, she said, but I loved him. I knew he loved me too. I cared for him. I spoiled him. I tried to understand him even when it was hard. Elvis was a man of extremes. He could be kind one moment and completely closed off the next. He struggled with health issues, substance problems, fear of losing control, and the heavy burden of being Elvis Presley. But Ginger stood by him. Even through all the difficult times, she believed their meeting had a deeper meaning. "God put us in each other's path for a reason," she said, and she meant that. Their time together may have ended in sadness, but she believed it had purpose. She didn't only speak about Elvis. Her memories also gave a rare look into her relationship with his daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. Many people don't realize that Ginger and Lisa spent time together. Lisa was only 9 years old when Elvis passed away, but in those final months they had shared several warm moments as a little family. Ginger remembered those days clearly. "My time with Lisa Marie was special to me," she said. "I grew to care deeply for her, and I truly felt she cared for me too." Lisa visited Graceland often. She even spent time at Ginger's family home. Their connection was short, but meaningful. Ginger believed that if life had allowed more time, they could have grown even closer. "I wish we had spoken again later in life," she admitted. "I know she must have had questions." That thought became more heartbreaking after Lisa passed away in 2013. Ginger's words to honor Lisa were filled with love and grief. She didn't dwell on lost time. She remembered what they did have. Her tribute ended with the words, "May you rest in peace, Lisa. You were loved and will be deeply missed." He was a man who could light up a stadium with his presence but break down when he was alone. A man who wanted to love and be loved, who dreamed of a quiet family life but could not escape the shadow of who he had become. Ginger revealed a truth that fans rarely considered, that to truly love Elvis Presley, one had to love every part of him. The good, the bad, the joyful, and the broken. Her story was real. It showed the pain, the struggles, and the quiet moments that defined Elvis in his final chapter. She revealed a man deeper than the music and stage lights. She shared the human side of a global legend. Her memories brought light to the pieces of his life that no one else could describe, because no one else had been there the way she had. Ginger was with Elvis during his final days, and all through this time she saw the changes in his mood, his behavior, and his focus. To her, Elvis was not a star. He was someone she cared for deeply. And during those last days, even she could tell he was tired. Tired not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. He spoke often about leaving it all behind. He talked about starting fresh somewhere far away, where no one would recognize him. He said he felt trapped, like he no longer belonged to himself. Ginger could tell that he was serious, more serious than she had ever seen him. In the final weeks, Elvis began acting differently. He stopped talking about music, he stopped discussing shows. Instead, he went through old papers and photos. He boxed up personal items, he made calls that he kept private. When Ginger asked questions, he brushed them off. But something felt different. He read more. Books about finding peace, about change, and about letting go. He even told Ginger one night to pack light. He said it gently, like it was part of a plan. At the time, it didn't make full sense. But later, Ginger realized what it had meant. Aside from Ginger, other people close to him saw changes too. Journalist Tony Sherman shared how Elvis no longer looked or acted like himself in early 1977. He had gained a lot of weight. The substances were taking a toll on his mind. His performances were getting shorter and harder for him to finish. Andy Green from Rolling Stone called those last shows difficult to watch. He described Elvis as confused, weak, and often unable to stand for long. At a concert in Louisiana, Elvis performed for less than an hour and mumbled words that the crowd couldn't understand. By March 31st, he was too unwell to get out of bed. He missed multiple shows that had to be rescheduled. Still, Elvis tried to keep up with the tour dates. Author Peter Guralnick said that fans were growing more disappointed, but Elvis didn't seem aware of their feelings anymore. His world had shrunk. He stayed in his room with only books and a few close people. His cousin Billy Smith recalled how Elvis spent hours locked in his room. Sometimes he laughed at old comedy shows. Sometimes he told stories. But more often, he sat in silence, lost in deep thoughts and strange fears. Elvis's final single, Way Down, came out on June 6, 1977. By then, he was facing serious health problems. He had issues with his eyes, liver, blood pressure, and colon. Most of these were worsened by the years of substance use. His last public appearance was in the early morning of August 8th, when he rented Liberty Land amusement park in Memphis to enjoy with a few friends. On August 16th, he was supposed to fly to Portland, Maine for a new tour. That afternoon, Ginger Alden found him collapsed in the bathroom at Graceland. Doctors tried to revive him, but it was too late. At 3:30 that afternoon, he was declared gone at Baptist Memorial Hospital. He was only 42 at the time of his passing. Years later, Ginger still carried those memories. She remembered his tired voice, his quiet nights, the words he highlighted in his books. One day, she found a letter Elvis had written. It was short, just one page, but in it he said he was tired of pretending, that the spotlight no longer felt right, that he just wanted to feel free. In that moment, everything made sense. He had not been planning a new tour or a comeback. He was saying goodbye in the only way he knew how, quietly, gently, and alone. Following his passing, President Jimmy Carter honored him with words that said Elvis had forever changed American culture. Thousands of fans lined up to see his body at Graceland in the days that followed. Well, unfortunately, Ginger revealed that the same Graceland where she first fell in love with the music icon became a nightmare to her. Ginger reveals more shocking details of what took place after Elvis Presley's passing. She gives details about their engagement.
I was on every tour after that. He performed in Las Vegas, and then we got engaged on January 26th.
When Elvis Presley passed away suddenly, the world was shocked. But behind the lights and cameras was another story that didn't get attention at first. Ginger Alden, the woman who once wore his engagement ring, was pushed out not by Elvis, but by the people who claimed they loved him the most, his own family. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Elvis and Ginger were engaged. He told others that she was the one he wanted a future with. He even dreamed of having more children with her. But after he passed on tragically, their love story turned sad. Instead of being treated like someone who meant a lot to Elvis, Ginger was treated like a stranger, or even worse. Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, wasn't very warm to Ginger, but he didn't reject her completely. He said he didn't know her well and thought she was quiet. Still, he said something important. Elvis had once told him, "This is the love I've been searching for." Elvis had imagined a future with Ginger. He wanted her to be the mother of his future children. That's not something you say unless the person matters. And in this case, Ginger was that person. But not everyone in the family felt the same. Vernon stayed neutral, but Elvis's uncle, Vester Presley, had a very different opinion, and he didn't hold back. He didn't just say he disliked her. He acted like she never existed. Vester even said, "Ginger Alden is late now as far as the family is concerned. We don't even recognize her as a human being." Imagine hearing that after losing the person you loved. Imagine the man who asked you to marry him had a family that wouldn't even let you visit his home. Things got so bad between Ginger and the family that she wasn't even allowed to walk into Graceland. Vester said she had to get special permission just to go through the gate. She couldn't go inside the home where she had once spent time with Elvis. Even to visit his grave, she had to call first. What changed? Why did the family treat her like this? Some people believe it had to do with a movie. Back in 1980, just a few years after Elvis passed on, Ginger acted in a film called Living Legend, The King of Rock and Roll. It wasn't officially about Elvis, but the story felt close to his life. It was about a music star who had problems with usage. The plot reminded many people of what Elvis had gone through. The Presley family saw the movie as a personal attack. To them, it wasn't just a film, it was disrespectful. They felt it made Elvis look bad. That movie might have been the last straw. It made things worse and caused them to turn away from Ginger completely. They thought she was trying to get money or attention from Elvis's name. But Ginger's side of the story was different. Her father said Ginger always wanted to have a close and peaceful relationship with the Presley family. She never wanted trouble. She didn't want to be in the spotlight. She simply wanted to be part of the family. Her father also believed Elvis would have been heartbroken if he knew how the family treated Ginger after he died. He said Ginger truly loved Elvis and didn't try to use him. So what really happened? Was Ginger blamed for something she didn't do? Was the family just too hurt and looking for someone to be mad at? Millions of fans around the world mourned Elvis's passing. But for Ginger, the pain was even deeper. She didn't just lose the man she loved. She also lost the family she thought would become her own. She was pushed away, left alone, and forgotten. Ginger and the Presley family. She talks about his personality.
He's such a generous to a fault, but such a generous man to complete strangers. You know, if he was buying a car for his father and someone walked in, it's like, you get one too.
Most people might think that someone like Ginger would be embraced with love and support by his family. After all, she had been the one holding his hand as his life faded. She had seen his struggles and helped him through his darkest days. But the opposite happened. For Vester, the anger went even deeper. He didn't stop at blocking Ginger from Graceland. He told others that he believed she had used Elvis for her own benefit. Rumors, grief, and perhaps jealousy took over. Ginger didn't just lose the love of her life. She lost any connection to the family that should have become her own. Imagine losing your partner and being blamed for it at the same time. Imagine not being allowed into the home you once felt safe in, the one where you planned your future. That's what happened to Ginger Alden. She wasn't just heartbroken. She was cut off, ignored, and pushed aside. There was no conversation, no chance to explain, just walls of silence and a cold shoulder. Through all of this, Ginger said nothing for a long time. Maybe she was trying to protect Elvis's memory. Maybe she didn't want to make things worse. Or maybe she simply didn't know how to speak about something so painful. But just because she stayed quiet doesn't mean her story disappeared. Deep down, people started asking questions. Why had the family turned against her? Why was the woman Elvis had planned to marry treated like a stranger? Was it fear that she knew more than she should? Was it sadness looking for someone to blame? Or was it just the kind of family conflict that becomes uglier under the weight of fame? No matter the reason, one thing is clear. Ginger Alden never ran from anything. She didn't seek drama. She didn't want fame. She fell in love with Elvis Presley, not knowing that love would come with a lifetime of hurt. And in return for giving her heart to him, she received rejection from the people who should have stood by her side. This is the truth Ginger has finally spoken about, and it's not an easy story to hear. In her own words, Ginger also described the Elvis that very few people knew. She spoke about his personality, how he could be kind and loving but also difficult and closed off. She remembered moments when he smiled and made jokes, but also moments when he was lost in deep thoughts and sadness. Elvis Presley is remembered as one of the greatest artists in music history. People call him the king of rock and roll for good reason. He didn't just sing songs, he changed music forever. Before Elvis, the world of music was quieter, more traditional. Then he came along, blending country, blues, and gospel into something new and exciting. His voice was full of power and emotion. His performances were full of energy, and his stage presence made fans scream with joy. He brought passion, movement, and soul to every performance. That's what made millions of people around the world fall in love with his music. But Elvis wasn't just a singer. He also starred in movies and became a symbol of style and confidence. His looks, his voice, and his charm set him apart. Artists everywhere began to follow his lead. Even today, people of all ages continue to discover his music. His songs still play on radio, in films, and at concerts. His impact has never faded. With all of his talents and achievements, one aspect of Elvis Presley's life that often drew just as much attention was his love life. Many women came into his life, some stayed longer, some briefly, but only a few truly touched his heart like Ginger. In the late 1950s, Elvis had a serious relationship with Anita Wood, a singer and TV personality. This was before he became a superstar. Their bond was strong, and many thought they would marry. But after Elvis went to Hollywood, fame changed everything. Constant travel and new people pulled them apart. Anita later said she still loved him but had to leave to protect her heart. She couldn't wait for someone who was drifting away. Then came Priscilla Presley. She met Elvis in Germany at just 14 while he was serving in the army. Her father was a military officer. Their connection grew over time. At 17, Priscilla moved into Graceland. They married in Las Vegas in 1967 and had Lisa Marie in 1968. On the outside, they looked perfect, but behind the scenes, the distance, cheating, and pressure tore them apart. They divorced in 1973 but stayed close. After Priscilla, Elvis dated other women, including actress and model Sybil Shepherd. Their relationship in the early 1970s was short-lived. Sybil said Elvis needed full attention, but she wanted her independence and couldn't give up her career. Linda Thompson was another important woman who came into the picture. She lived with Elvis for 4 years. She supported him through his declining health and tough times. Though they broke up before his last months, Linda was there through the darkest period of his life too, just like Ginger. As for his home, Graceland in Memphis, it became a special place where fans travel from across the world to remember him. They bring flowers, take photos, and walk through the rooms where he once lived. It is a sign of how deep his influence runs, even many years after his passing. Still, Elvis's life was not perfect. Behind all the bright lights and fame, he had real problems. His health began to fall apart. He struggled with the weight of being famous. The pressure became too much, and he turned to things that only made the pain worse. Fans saw a powerful man on stage, but behind closed doors, he was often tired, worried, and broken. Ginger's memories of Elvis show this clearly. Her words give the world a deeper, more honest view of who Elvis really was in his final days. Someone filled with love, but also with pain and loneliness. After his passing, Ginger slowly moved forward with her life. She continued modeling and acting for a while. Then in 1991, she married Ron Laser. Together they had a son named Hunter. Even with her new life, she never forgot her time with Elvis. She later wrote a book about her time with him, sharing the memories she had once kept private. Her book gives people a rare and deeply personal look at Elvis Presley, not just the star, but the man behind the fame. Her story reminds us that behind the powerful voice and the bright lights was a man who dreamed of peace, who wanted love, and who struggled with things no one ever saw. Ginger's truth is painful, but it's also powerful. It adds something real to Elvis's legacy. It reminds us that even the biggest stars are still human. They feel hurt, they make mistakes, and they sometimes pass on with things left unsaid. And for Ginger, this is what matters now. Not the fame, not the headlines, not the praise or the judgment, but the truth. She loved Elvis Presley, and she stood by him until the end. That love, even if it ended in pain, was real. And now, all these years later, we're finally hearing what happened after the music stopped. It's not just a story of rejection. It's a story of loyalty, heartbreak, and finally, the courage to speak. And in telling it, Ginger Alden has given us something priceless, the final missing piece of Elvis Presley's story. What are your thoughts on Ginger's revelations? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.